I felt this tickle in my throat. It's just simple tickle. I tried to clear my throat, and there was no breath. All of a sudden, these light orbs just started to multiply, just started to populate around me. And it was amazing to me because within that moment, it felt as if, my gosh, welcome home, welcome home. It felt like this welcome party. And they called the death process walking off the sand of life and stepping into the water of infinity. There was just this overwhelming feeling of love that I don't know how to explain. The most important thing that we miss as human beings is, do I choose to give love or do I choose to withhold love? Hi, beautiful souls. My name is Nekesha Burrell, and I am absolutely delighted to be sharing sacred space today with Mo. I'm born Jamaican. I was born and grown up in Jamaica, and I came from a very strict Christian household. So you go to church every Sunday, you follow the rules, and it was okay. There's nothing wrong with it. However, I found that as I got a little bit older, I would notice things that people would notice. It simply gave me a different perspective of what love represented. So I'm always the one who said, I don't understand why there's so many gods. Why is it that my best friend who's going to church on a Saturday, I am told that she's going to go to hell? And I used to get in quite a bit of trouble for it. So as I started to grow up, I would notice things that people would notice. And I was always told to hush up. I would have these knowing that there were beings around me. I would have these knowings of fairies. And I used to get the most amazing storybooks because I think at that time, my family, especially my sister, was trying to get me away from this, what they call imaginary friends or imaginary stories. So I would get the best books of fairies and everything and see, that's where it came from. It's your imagination. So as I grew up, I started to, let's say, not talk about it. I really started to shut up. During COVID, when I didn't have these activities that made sense, this identity that I revered, and I wanted to be this entrepreneur, and my business closed down. Everybody's business closed down. I lost my identity. And during that phase, I started to, I guess, seek, but not outside within. I started to ask this question, what's my purpose? And all my life, I knew what my purpose was. I was an entrepreneur. This is what I was doing. However, the rug just literally got dragged out of my feet. And I did not know, this person who always has this analytical mind, what the daylights I was going to do with my life, because COVID just felt as if it was going to go on forever. So in 2021, I remember everybody left that morning. I was in New York and I went to take a shower, and this was a catalyst of change for me. And while I was there, I felt this tickle in my throat. It's just simple tickle. What do? You try to clear your throat. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to clear my throat, and there was no breath. Within trying to get that breath, there was absolutely no breath, and I went into an absolute hissy fit. I remember I felt myself dragging the shower curtain down. Within that moment, I had this memory. Before I left Jamaica, my partner who's there, who is asthmatic, he decided, out of the blue, he just said to me, when you go to New York, I'm giving you one of my asthma pumps because it gets cold in New York. And I was livid, like, I'm not asthmatic. I don't want the pump. However, he said, I just have this feeling you're going to need it. Just bring it, bring it. So we probably argued about it all the way to the airport. Simple thing as that. And I just basically just struggled out, put my hand in my bag, and I felt the pump. And then I thought to myself, I don't know how to use this thing. And in that very moment, my phone rang. I took it up while I'm fighting for breath, but I don't remember pressing it because it fell on the floor, because by this time, I am also on the floor. I know I didn't puff the pump, and I could hear my hubby on the other side in Jamaica. And I guess within that moment, he says now that he just had this urgency to say, call Nick now. And when he called, he could hear me gurgling, he says. And I could hear him on the phone, Nick, puff and swallow, puff and swallow. And that's all I remember. I remember thinking to myself, I know I'm going to die now, But the last thought I had was, DAMN it. Damn it. My sister and my brother-in-law is going to come find me naked and dead on this floor. And I was so annoyed. And it felt as if the breath just rose from me, like it just arose out of nowhere. And I was no longer there. I don't have any memory of or knowing of leaving this physicality. I just know that it almost feels as if when I took that breath, I don't have breath. How come I took a breath? But as soon as I did, I was in this white space. And as soon as I was to think to myself, where am I? I saw the apparition of my grandmother. She's the one who passed away when I was so young. And I saw her at the youngest stage I ever remembered her. And as soon as I was to think, where am I? All of a sudden, these light orbs just started to multiply, just started to populate around me. And it was amazing to me because within that moment, it felt as if, my gosh, welcome home, welcome home. It felt like this welcome party. And I actually could identify every single angel that represented those light orbs. It was all energy, all light. But not only that, there was just this overwhelming feeling of love that I don't know how to explain, but it was just, every time I try to recreate it now, I just take this really deep breath, and I close my eyes and I try to go there again because that's how it felt. But within that moment while I was there, I started to observe, and it felt as if I was getting all these downloads, and I was seeing things that happened on earth before, and I was seeing within myself things that are about to happen. And at the same time, it's as if I'm seeing my life, the choices that I made. And while I was there, it was as if, it felt as if I was watching a rerun of my life, being in it, observing myself. And I was there saying to myself, my gosh, you could have smiled there. And I kept saying, oh my, why didn't you just do that? I was judging myself with every aspect of every decision I ever made. And now that I'm back, I find it very interesting that while I was doing that, there was no angel within that space who was judging me. I was the one actually judging myself. There was so much love and consoling. And I remember within that thought is as if I got distracted. And when I looked over to the left, it was kind of amazing because there were some angels there. And these angels weren't in orbs. I could actually see the silhouette figures of what I envision an angel to look like. And there were souls over there. You could see their silhouette figures. And I just knew as soon as I thought, what's that? I got this knowing, oh, that's spiritual rehab. And I found it interesting. And as soon as I had the thought, what's spiritual rehab? You could actually see the angels just flowing rainbow of colors through these beings. And then I realized, oh, those are the ones who come to the light. And I was excited for them. It's like, oh my gosh. So they're not necessarily judged, but people who make choices and take an exit before time, it's kind of refreshing to know, oh my gosh, if they choose to go to the light, there's a space for them between time and space back home where they get to reflect on, what they did, choices they made. And it's as if within the next breath, there was this huge archway right in front of me. It was so beautiful. It felt like it was a door, but when you looked at it, it was just filled with clouds. And when I looked beyond it, there was this crystal city and this, just this waterfalls. And I was so drawn to it. I wanted to go there so bad. And as soon as I had the thought, oh my gosh, what's there? My grandmother just appeared again. And now I know she was stopping me from, it feels as if as soon as I have a thought, I'm there. So as soon as I had that thought, she appeared. And I think her distracting me caused me to remain where I was. And I got kind of distracted to my right, and there was Archangel Raphael. And it's as if, wow, like we're best friends. We knew each other. And I had this knowing, wow, you're my main guide. And it's as if I could see, like I could connect the dots to say, oh my gosh, so you were the one who did this, who took me out of that accident. I could almost connect the dots with myself and Archangel Raphael. And it just felt so welcoming. And he ushered me into this room on the right. And when I went to that room, it was magnificent. I could see, the only way I can describe it is like honeycombs, what bees make when they're making honey. It looked like honey pods, and they were golden and like pulsating. And as soon as I was to think what it was, I knew, my gosh, that's the actual memory of every single human being. And as soon as I was to think that, one came out and I just knew, wow, that's mine. And here I was seeing these flashes of my life again. And I was like, I was at it again. Oh my gosh, you weren't so kind there. You could have done better there. And as soon as I was to start to focus on that, Archangel Raphael allowed me to know, no, you are going to focus on 3 life reviews. So I started to focus on this. I don't know how to explain it. I can say a hologram, but it was so much cuter than that. And it came up and it felt as if I was there. But what I found interesting is the first one that came up, I knew I was 5 years old. I just knew it. And I was clad into this beautiful red dress, and my sister was getting me ready. And while I was in there, I noticed I wasn't feeling how I felt. I was feeling how she felt. And she was filled with this outburst of love. However, she whispered something. She said, I will protect you forever. And I was kind of curious. And I had this thought, why? Why are you making that? Why are you saying that? And the angels took me almost like they took me into her childhood at the very moment to witness something that she experienced when she was younger. And I remember when she overcame it, in a sense, as a child, she prayed to God and she said, if you ever give me a sister, I promise you I'll protect her forever. Almost to say, I'm going to make sure what happened to me doesn't happen to her. And it was so much overwhelming love. But it sounds silly, but for me, it was paramount because my sister is much older than me. She's the first one. I'm the last one of 4 in the family. And I always have this tit for tat with her because I'm always like, why do you always have to be like a mother? She always wants to tell me what to do, walk a straight line. And I always want to just have fun with her. But she was more serious with me. Like, listen, you're not going to make the mistakes I did. I said, but I want to. So we always have this. And within that moment, I finally understood, oh my gosh, it's not just being miserable, because I call her miserable. It's really profound, unconditional love. And as soon as I had that thought, I was in the second memory. And this one, I was in high school in Jamaica, and it was Valentine's Day. I'll never forget. This young boy in school that really, really liked me, and he brought a rose to me that day for Valentine's Day. And I was with my friends, and being silly and young at the same time, I refused the rose. That's a simple thing. I probably would have taken the rose if I was at a corner in private somewhere, but I literally refused the rose because I was with my girlfriends but in that moment, I felt how crushed he felt. I was so torn. I was like, gosh, I really hurt him. And I never knew. He never told me. He talked to me after that. We spoke together for years, like really good friends. However, I never knew how much that crushed his heart, and they allowed me to feel that, and I felt so bad. And as soon as I was to think to myself, oh my gosh, I have to apologize. I felt so livid. This beautiful light orb just came out of nowhere. And then I had this knowing, wow, that's his soul. And I think they gave me a chance to, I don't know if it's apologize, but I felt really good after I connected with his soul. And after my NDE, I remember I sought after him. I wanted to find him just to say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was so silly. But when I did try to reach him, I was told that he passed years before. So that for me was so important because they gave me a chance to really, apologize or, work it out with his soul. And the third review I saw, I was in my 20s in Jamaica again, and I was at this supermarket in Ocho Rios, very new supermarket, and there was this old lady in the line before me. There was a long line behind me. I was directly behind her. And she was there for a while. And you got to know that, oh, you know what? She can't pay for all her bill. I just had this feeling, you know what? Let's just pay for her bill. So I bent over to the teller and I said, I'll pay her bill. And the teller told her, and this old lady, she just turned around to me and she held me like this. And the angels allowed me to understand that day, when she held me like this and she said, thank you. And I said to her, God works in mysterious ways. And when I said that to her, she held my hand and They allowed me to feel an energetic exchange from her that day that probably catapulted my life that I didn't know I received. Then I started to see they were showing me the trajectory, Mo, of what Earth can be from our choices. And I've never really looked on life like this, like, oh my gosh, Archangel Raphael says, it's not about, okay, these commandments, we are following these rules, we have to stay in this construct, and we are dividing ourselves. This one is powerful, this one is not. He says, no. The most important thing that we miss as human beings is, do I choose to give love or do I choose to withhold love? So within all of that downloads, which felt like forever, I focus on this crystal city again because I wanted to go there. And as soon as I started to focus, my grandmother showed up again. She said, it's time to go. And I know if I got a chance, I would have argued with her because I didn't want to go. And as soon as I was to think, no, I was outside of that white space. And it just felt, I have to go back to the breath because this is what I felt. And within this breath, I'm in this dark space, but it's not like a dark room. I had this knowing when I was there that this is where everything is created. It felt as if this darkness was creating every single thing, every thought that I'm having, everything that I'm thinking. You know, it creates everything for me. And as soon as I was to think, where am I? It looked, or it appeared as if somebody pricked the darkest dark you can think of with a pin or a needle. And this very small light came through. And within that light, I felt this breath. And as soon as I felt that breath, I slowly started to feel my physical body. And when I started to feel my physical body, very slowly I started to feel it. And this breath, I realized as soon as I came in, so, oh my gosh, this breath is not just air. I was so excited. This is consciousness I'm breathing in. This is everything. This is my connection to the divine, to the angels. And I was so... And then when I realized I'm really back in my body, I didn't want to move. I was like, I didn't want to lose that feeling that I just felt. But now that I talk about it, the first thing that came back to me when I started to feel my physicality is fear. I was so fearful. What did I just experience? Oh my gosh, I'm going absolutely mad. What did I just feel? And as soon as I had that, within this breath again, then everything just came back to me. And I knew without a doubt, oh my gosh, I just sat with angels. I saw my life review and I was sitting and talking with my grandmother. Oh my gosh, and there's a spiritual, and I was going in my head like crazy. And while I was going through that on the phone, still on the phone, and I don't know how much time passed, to my partner, he says, only maybe 60 seconds, but it felt like a long time. And I heard him on the phone, puff and swallow, and then I felt the pump in my right hand. I looked on the pump without moving. I'm just moving my head. I was like, I don't need the pump. And within this breath, I just kept taking this breath. And by the time I was to say anything to him, I just leaned to the side. I didn't take the phone up. I said, I'm okay. I'm going to be all right. And within that space, I could hear the door opening because he called my brother-in-law to come to get me, to take me to the hospital. And when he came in, I am naked on the floor. I don't care. I'm not thinking. I'm just trying to soak up this energy that I just felt. And I came back realizing, oh my gosh, I'm more than this body. And I'm trying to say, listen, I just talked to my grandmother and angels, and he's panicking. And the first thing I realized, Mo, is I could feel his panic. I could feel his fear. And I was trying to calm him down, say, it's okay. But he was such an adhesive. He said, we have to go now, go to the hospital. And on my ride to the hospital, I did go. I remember asking to put the window down. And for the first time in my earthly life, it felt as if I was the wind for a moment. I think for a second, I thought I was really mad because I swear the sun flowed through my body. I swear I saw myself light up. And when I got to that hospital, when the nurse saw me, because by now my brother-in-law was telling her, I think she puffed too much of the pump, but I didn't take any. So I think she has this fixated on her mind. And I'm saying, nurse, you don't understand. I'm fine. I saw angels just now. Did you know that we're more than everything? We're everything. And she's saying, yeah, you know what? You had a very massive anxiety attack. And nobody's listening to me. So I went through all this phase in the hospital, and this is just a process of realizing every day after this happened, when I came back from the hospital, my family feels relieved. However, I can't help telling them this story, which really became a story. And I started to feel when I speak to my family back in Jamaica, I'm really okay, but you don't understand. If we do these things, this is what's going to happen on the earth. And if we don't start honing in and start praying for each other and being kind to ourselves and start doing self-healing. And the more I spoke, the more I felt this fear coming out of them. And I also felt the judgment. So the first couple of days, weeks, months after my NDE was the most challenging, because I came back knowing things that they didn't know, and I didn't know how to explain it to them. And I started to see, as if tunnel vision, I could see the limitations that we choose to put on ourselves. I could see the disappointments that would happen to somebody. However, my perspective is, it's not a disappointment though. It really is a redirection. It's your guide who set that up. You really weren't supposed to get that job. It was going to deplete you. And I found that people would start telling me less things because they didn't want to hear what I was saying. And I used to say to myself, my gosh, we limit ourselves to always expect the worst to happen. Why can't it be that if you're stuck in traffic, it really is a time for you to pause and reset, because you're blowing your mind up with everything that may never happen. And when I speak like this, I could feel the judgment. And then I started to judge them, because now I'm seeing it from a different perspective. I'm like, why are you so limiting? You know what I mean? And I started to connect more with my angels, and they basically just said, no, you did not come back to judge people. You did not choose to come back to try to hone them in and tell them where to go, because if you do that, then you're creating for yourself another religion. We have to get Earth ready to understand that it's not meant to be fearful for them. It's simply meant for them to understand, listen, we are ready, and we are not going to keep choosing. We have to hit rock bottom before we stand in our truth and our power. And there are angels that kept talking about the feminine energy, and I never understood it. What are you talking about? And then they started to show me how much stories have been convoluted, and how much it's supposed to be like an equally yoked union between masculine and feminine. That's where the power is, and that's where it digressed. And I didn't quite know how to explain it to people. Like, wow, it's really simpler than you see it. This earth, yes, it's going to go through changes. However, it's time now for you simply to prepare yourself, not for the worst, to understand that this God that you've been waiting for to come and save you has actually been waiting on you to choose to be boots on the ground. Has actually been waiting on you to make these choices. Do I choose to give love, starting with yourself? Or do I choose in every aspect, every situation, everything that happens within my life to withhold love? And I think the way the world is projected and the way society is set up, I understand why it's challenging for somebody to hear me say this and say, she's talking absolute bollocks. Because 5 years ago, I probably would have said the same thing. However, there's so much proof in the concept by just starting by loving yourself. Just starting. I'm talking about unconditional love to you, where you're not standing and looking at yourself in the mirror and having this thought, oh my gosh, I wish I was 10 pounds lighter. Why do I have freckles on my face? And they allowed me to hone into that energetically and say, each time we do this, even by thought, even if it's unconscious, energetically it starts to deplete us. Energetically festers the fear that we live in. Energetically really guides us in the wrong direction. It's like our eternal GPS is out of balance, in a sense, out of whack, because we have separated ourselves from our spirituality, from our spiritual rights, from our energetic bodies. And we're walking on this earth as if we're shells with no support. And I think that out of everything is just something that I didn't want to do it, did not want to come public. As I watch when I would have private meets or when I would have private conversations with so many people who really have mostly two questions. The first question usually is, I don't know what's wrong, but I just feel as if I don't know what my purpose is. And the second question usually is absolute fear of death, absolute fear of a loved one who passed away, and wondering, oh my gosh, are they trapped in, are they burning in hell? And you see, when these things happen, energetically, it really builds the fear within the society. And it causes what we call the darkness to always populate a distraction for you to continue to be like swimming, swimming with the piranhas type of thing. Instead of allowing yourself to flow and just trust and know, you know what, I'm supported anyway. And today and every day, I'm choosing to give love to myself. And, it kind of sounds too simple to be true, but usually those are the ones that's right. To get a hold of me, my YouTube channel is up. I'm starting to do videos. All my links are there for you to contact me. Or my website, souldeepconsciousness.love. That's basically it. I'm just being guided on where to take people. And I'm really blessed, and I feel so honored to sit across the screen from so many beautiful souls who are a mirror of me, and allow the guides to just literally step through and kind of give them clarity and guidance and blow their minds a couple times, about, what your purpose is, which really, when they realize it, they always knew it within. It's just a reminder, a confirmation to say, you know what? Yep, that's what feels true to me. And I am going to be a lighthouse and spreading love and being boots on the ground.